Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 83. And today we're going to have our regular show where we talk about a topic for the first 10 or 15 minutes. And then while we're doing that, you guys are sending us questions. So shoot them over to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. You can also send them to us here in the chat on YouTube. You can send them to us on Google Plus and even Facebook. We'll try to hit all of them. So we are Facebook on all those places, or we are Shot Science on all those places. So make sure you catch us there, and we will try to answer as many questions as we possibly can. If you guys are watching the recording, thank you. That's awesome. But make sure you guys go out and tell your friends and family to check out the show, because that helps us have more great guests. If you missed our last show, we talked with Slick Willie Shaw from the Harlem Globetrotters, but we've had people on from, the Spurs, Danny Green. We've also talked to a bunch of college coaches. We talked to a bunch of coaches that help get kids into college programs. So if you want more of those guests, make sure that you go out and tell people to show up for the shows. So send us your questions. Now we're going to jump into our topic for today, which is how to have confidence for basketball. So what are your thoughts on it?
Actually confidence really takes and comes in several tiers. The first tier is where you're learning how to play the game and you're developing skills. And one of the things that happens to us is that we don't spend enough time sometimes in developing our skills, and so when we have to get into a competition, then we don't have confidence in ourselves to execute some of those. So it's very important when we're at that lower level or that lower tier that we really spend time working on our handles, right hand, left hand, dominant hand, weak hand, so to speak. And when you get those ball skills, then you go on to a second tier that we'll talk about in just a moment. But the thing that's really important is you have to develop those so that you feel pretty good about them. I mean, you may not have an awful lot of confidence at that point, but you begin to feel pretty good about them. And then you need to develop those skills that you use for shooting and the different kinds of shots. You know, there's all kinds of shots that are a part of this game. We've got layups, we've got set shots, we've got jump shots, we've got hook shots. All of those different kinds of things you need to spend time on so that you get better at them. And as you get better, you begin to develop a certain level of confidence in yourself to be able to execute them. Then we kind of come on to the next level. We call it a tier. And that is where you take those skills that you've been working on and you begin to work on them at game speed. And we can't say enough about this particular element. If you expect that you're just going to go out and shoot around with your buddies and do a little bit of ball handling work and then step into a game and expect that you're going to be successful, that's not going to happen. And neither will you have very confidence in yourself when you do that. So you need, in that second tier, is to take and start working on all those skills at a game speed. That means that you're executing much quicker, much more aggressively than you would be if you're out just shooting around with your buddies.
Yeah, like game intensity.
Game intensity is really important because if you practice at a practice speed, which may not be very quick, and then you suddenly are introduced into a game where they're playing at a much higher tempo, you will get buried and your confidence will just fall apart on you. And so by working on your game at game speed, then you begin to get an idea, okay, in this higher speed or higher paced game, I need to make these little adjustments on this so that it works for me. And as you work on that and feel better about it, your confidence will tend to grow. Then we go to another tier, which we always think in terms of 3 tiers here, but the next tier is one where you take it to the court. And by taking it to the court, we're talking about where you go someplace to play in games. Maybe they're just pickup games. Maybe they're more organized games. But you're going and taking those skills to the court. And one of the things that a lot of players fail to do is they kind of develop some of these skills, but then they're afraid to execute them when they get into that game situation. And as a result, you've wasted a lot of time. What you need to do is understand that when you are developing skills, and you get through that game speed phase, now it's time to try this at the next level and expect that you're probably going to fail the first few times you do it. But then as you begin to show more ability at game speed, facing a defender, facing another team, then you will begin to develop a little confidence in yourself and being able to do that. And this confidence is just built one on top of the other. And pretty soon your whole game begins to expand as you feel better about your ability to execute different things. It doesn't make any difference what it is. It could be passing, it could be dribbling, anything that has to do with the game of basketball. So those are some of the principal thoughts about developing confidence. It is a process that begins with you learning, then developing at game speed, and then let's take it to the court and see what we can get done.
Yeah, I mean, those are like taking the 3 pillars of practice and applying them for getting kind of comfortable or confidence built up.
Right.
You know, I think definitely the take home from all of this is that having confidence in your skills will give you confidence in your execution.
Right.
And so if you are going out there and you're working on developing all that stuff on your own and you're getting that all dialed in, then when you step out on the court and you actually have to play, I mean, that stuff's going to be there for you. So what do you have to worry about?
Yeah.
You know, nothing is to worry when you have all the tools in your toolbox and you know how to use them. If you step out on the floor and you're not feeling confident in your shooting or your dribbling's not really where it needs to be, well, yeah, then that's going to make anybody kind of panic. So you really need to work on developing your skills and getting those kind of up to par. Were you going to say anything?
Well, yeah, one of the things I was going to say is this, is that if we take and we have fear, we play out of fear or lack of confidence, and we don't want to keep the ball. We catch the ball, we get rid of it right away. We want to give somebody else because we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to look bad amongst our peers. We don't want to screw anything up. Well, in reality, you have to screw things up once in a while in order to learn. And because you learn, okay, that's not what I'm supposed to do, so I got to figure out what it is I am supposed to do. And that's kind of how you develop that confidence, is go through this process of failure and success and more failure and more successes.
Well, you look at people that are like the top level basketball players. You know, that could be Kobe, it could be Derrick Rose, it could be, you know, Paul George, LeBron James, all those guys. When you watch those guys, there's not a moment of panic going through their mind ever. You know, if anything, you can watch them and things just slow down. And maybe they even take a second or two to kind of assess, or, you know, it's not like they're trying to rush things or get the ball out of their hands or anything like that. They have the confidence and the skills, you know, built up to the point where they are actually slowing it down a little bit. Especially somebody like Kobe. I mean, he will sit there for a full few seconds before he does anything.
Sure.
Now, that's not necessarily what we want you guys to do, but we also don't want you to catch the ball and think about immediately getting rid of it. That's not the best thing either. Like, you want to turn it into an opportunity and just have it be something that kind of just that you feel confident in doing.
Right.
So I think the other part of it, aside from having the skills and all that, I think that's probably the most important part, but also having the mentality that you know, you don't care about making a mistake. Like, it just doesn't matter. You're going to, you know, risk what you're going to do to make things happen. And if something happens that isn't great, then too bad. Next time on the court, it's going to be another scenario. So you have to kind of have that switch that you flip that's going to put you in that mentality, because if you don't, and you're just constantly worried, oh no, if I miss this shot, and you know, my coach is going to think I suck, or if I dribble this ball off my foot, or if I turn it over, you know, that's the end of it for me. You know, I mean, that's the most ridiculous way to think. You have to think, okay, bummer, I just kicked the ball out of bounds. Next time down the floor, I'm going to put it in the basket. And if you worry about anything other than that, then you've already talked yourself out of the next possession.
Right, and one of the things that goes along with what Casey's saying that I like to take and lay out for students all the time is that everybody's going to screw up. There's nobody that plays this game now or has played it any time in the history of basketball that hasn't made many, many, many mistakes.
But yeah, I mean,
and if you were to talk to great players, great professional players, they would be the first to admit that they went through some really trying times in developing their game, because they went through the same confidence kind of issues that probably everybody else does as they're coming along as well. It's not like that just born in you. You develop those skills and then you go from there. But the thought that I really like is this, is that when you have a failure like that, that becomes yesterday's news. It's old. Don't pay any attention to it. I'm always looking forward to what I'm going to do next, not what happened a half a minute ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the great players, or and this is not even like NBA players, like the great players that are in high school that you might come across, or the ones that you might see playing in college, all of them kind of have like this killer instinct, and it's like they are only living in the present and looking to the future. They are never worried about whatever happened in the past. They are executing on what is happening right in front of them. If they are worried about anything that happened 2 minutes ago, then they are not going to be that great player. It's all about the next basket. It's not about the one that you miss. So, you really have to have that mentality, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So, do we feel good about that confidence stuff? If you guys have more questions about that, we'll try to give you more specific stuff. But I think that's really the key, is really getting your skills to the level they need to be, and that takes kind of a mentality shift itself. It's just really focusing on developing your skills and using the 3 pillars of practice, the diligent dialing in, the game speed, game intensity, and then the actual game experience. And, doing that stuff will really help you push your skills to the next level, to where you will have the confidence to just kind of go out and play on the floor and not worry about not having those skills. The other part is the mentality aspect of it, and you just have to really flip the switch and live in the present and the future.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's really hard to do, but still, that should be your goal.
Yeah. Get over it is really the key.
Really get over it.
And that's real talk.
Yeah. Yesterday's news.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into answering questions, but we want to ask you guys that if you have questions, please send them to us. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. We are Shot Science on pretty much everything else too. So if you want to hit us up on that, we are also answering questions from the Q&A on Google Plus right now, and also on in the chat for the YouTube stream too. So hit us up and go out and tell your friends and family that like basketball to come check us out too. Excuse me, because that really helps us out a lot. All right, so let's jump into this right now. I think we had a couple questions here on Twitter, so I'm going to jump over there and check those out. Okay, this one is from James Cotty J, who is at Fish Are My Dish on Twitter. He says, "Hi, I love your videos. You guys have helped my game so much. I get blocked easily on my jump shot. How do I prevent that? Thanks," from James.
Well, one of the things, James, that if you're being blocked on your jump shots, there's a couple things going on. Number one, that shot probably was not there, and you were probably forcing that shot. Number two, it's important for you to learn how to create separation so that you can get that shot off. And that might be through the use of a jab step, a shot fake, or some other move. But that's essentially what's going on. If people are blocking your shot consistently, your jump shot, or any shot for that matter, it's because you haven't created space to get that off, and you're forcing it. That shot was not there. One of the things that I would direct you to is a video that we have on our channel, and it is "What is a good shot?"
Yep, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah, and if you take a look at that,
it's all about shot selection.
Yeah, and oftentimes what we do is we get a little hungry for shots, and what that means is that we want to get a shot up. Everybody else has scored and we haven't, so we want to get a shot up. And so we do some really kind of dumb things sometimes by shooting when we're contested, forcing shots. And in reality, it's a good idea just to be active and wait for things to happen for you where you can get that shot, and learn how to create space.
Creating space is like the most important thing that you can really learn, aside from like the very specific skills like shooting and dribbling and stuff like that. If you are trying to take a shot and it is being altered or contested by anybody, that's probably not the shot you want to take. So use stuff that we teach you in like essentially any of the offensive moves playlists that we have. Right. Like the jab step, the shot fake, the long 1-and-1, any of the dribble attack moves. Get yourself into a position where you're taking an open look. I mean, nobody is going to have a high percentage shot with somebody just like right in their grill,
right.
Or in a position where they're able to block your jump shot. I mean, that is just that's a really tough shot to make.
Well, and also being close enough that they alter your shot. Maybe they don't even block it, but they alter your shot because they're so close to you. And so really learn how to create space. And if you go to our videos, like Casey says, there's a number of them there that would help you be able to do that.
Yep. And check out that shot selection video
Yeah.
too. What's a good shot?
What's a good shot?
Okay, this one is from Farasat, who is at Cashdown23 on Twitter, and they say, "What are some conditioning drills I can do?" If you're, I think, in my opinion, I think the best conditioning stuff that you can do is interval training, because it most closely kind of emulates what you see on the basketball court, or what your conditioning is going to need to be on the basketball court. So what it is you're doing intervals of high intensity and low intensity right after each other, instead of like going and running for 3 miles or something like that. That is kind of the same intensity, and it's kind of like a moderate intensity, because you can't keep up the high intensity, and if you do the low intensity, then it's more like a walk. So these interval training would be something like doing suicides, or the ladder drill, where you're essentially running from the baseline to the free throw line, back to the baseline to midcourt, that drill, or doing something where you're just running sprints and then walking back to the start, briskly walking back to the start. So running like 100 meters, walk back, running 100 meters, walk back, and you do that a bunch of times, and that will help you kind of build up that conditioning level. And one of the good things that you can do too is, while you're doing that, actually work on your skills in between maybe the actual sets that you're doing. So maybe you do a whole set of sprints, and then you work on your free throw shot, or you work on some kind of ball handling drill, or doing some game speed, game intensity shots, and then you go back and you do some more, and you just kind of work on those skills in different levels of fatigue while you're doing that. But doing stuff like that, the interval training, I think, is huge. Jump rope is great.
Yep. Dot
drills, ladder drills. Working some plyometric stuff as well. I think if you go check out our vertical jump handbook and the vertical jump videos that we put together, there's a lot of really good conditioning stuff in there too, but it will also help you with your athleticism as well. So I would check out that stuff, but interval training is really the way to go. Okay, this one is dropped out. Hold on. Hey, are you guys there? Looked like the internet dropped out here. Let us know in the chat. Okay, continue with what you were saying.
Well, just that you need to really learn how to jump stop when you get into the middle of the defense, and understanding that the game stops momentarily when you do that, and the defense doesn't know exactly what you're going to do, and maybe you're not really sure either. But there's some individual moves that you can execute there, and you'll see some of those if you take and go to our video finishes at the rim. And the other thing that's real important is that the defense wants to take and squeeze down on you, and that makes a great opportunity for you to jump stop, make a turn, and kick the ball to somebody at the perimeter who gets a good looking shot. But I think usually contact at the rim is contact on your arms and hands. Once in a while you get hit in the face and stuff like that, but I have never seen anybody die from any of that. and I've never seen anybody have to be taken to the hospital because of that. I've seen a couple of people who have fallen and hit their head and that kind of thing, but that doesn't happen really very often at all.
Yeah, one of the things that I would say too is that this goes back to kind of what we were just talking about, but if you have experience in developing skills that are going to help you have opportunities. So having opportunities or options really is the key here. If you know your options and you feel comfortable with them, you're not going to worry about the defenders that are down there. Like I'm 6'2". I've gone up against guys that are 6'10", and I wasn't so freaked out about it because I knew that there was options there. I knew that I could give them a shot fake. I could jump stop and give them a shot fake. I knew that I could also do some kind of up and under. I could pass it off to my teammate that's cutting because I drew the defense in. I could, do a whole list of things. We have like the finishes at the rim video. I mean, there's a whole bunch. There's 9 moves in there that you could look into using. But if you have these different options, it shouldn't matter who's in front of you really at all, because if they're there and it looks like they're going to be able to stop you, there should be some other option for you, whether it's dumping it off to a teammate or stopping a jump stop, step back and shoot a little step back shot. Give them a or give them a shot fake and get them up in the air and then get some contact and put the ball in. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Give yourself all those options. Now, if you're coming in and all you have is that one layup move, that's when you get in trouble, because if you're going up against a guy that's 8 inches taller than you and you're trying to just do a simple layup with that guy, that's where things get a little tough. And if you have 4 or 5 different options that you can use otherwise, I mean, that's really going to help you much more, and having the experience to know which one to use too.
Well, and you watch players like Tony Parker.
Yeah.
And oh gosh, I've got a mental block down here on the.
Damian Lillard would be a good example. That guy
Right.
is 6 feet tall, and he's going in and dunking on 7-foot guys.
Well, and Steve Nash is just
Steve
awesome
Nash.
around the basket. And he attacked the basket, but he's not going to give you that straightaway lay-in unless he knows he's got that clean. Otherwise, he's going to take a jump stop. He's going to take and give you 2 or 3 different moves. And it's important to remember too is that when you get fouled in there, most all the time you're going to get the call in your favor. Just make sure that you take the ball to that defender and let them go ahead and hit you on the arm and whatnot.
Yeah, do not be afraid of contact.
Yeah.
That really only benefits you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go jump into the chat here. This one is from Rebound King, who says, "Help, coach. I'm finding that my shot, whether it be a three-point or mid-range, is becoming a lot more unpredictable and unreliable. I don't like shooting in games anymore, so I switched to driving to the basket. My question is, how do you drive off a screen into a zone? Also, is there a different way to drive against a man defense and a zone defense?" Yes.
Well, one of the things when you're facing a man.
Well, hold on. Let's take this first part. Okay. He's finding a shot.
Unpredictable.
He says
unreliable.
he doesn't like shooting in games anymore, so he switched to driving. Okay, so
Well,
I think that really goes back to the 3 pillars, right?
Well, yeah, but one of the things that is really important is get back to the shooting. That's really important that you spend time on that. That's really key.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Go and do the 3 pillars of practice with the shooting.
Right, and develop some confidence again that maybe you've lost a little bit of. And so
here's what you can do. You can jump in and start doing the 3 pillars by doing the diligent practice, which would be like the form shooting, right? So that will help you dial in your mechanics, and you can work on things like getting your release to be right, getting your elbow to finish above your shooting eye, all of those different things, shooting for the nest. Work on that stuff in your diligent pillar, where you're working on the form shooting drill. Second pillar is the game speed, game intensity, where you're really working on, getting the reps where you are actually facing the intensity that you would in a game. Maybe even get a defender to come out there and play against you. Mom or dad, brother, whoever it is, have them come and play against you, so you get that kind of game intensity feel. Then do the game experience shooting, and that will really help you get kind of back into your shooting groove, I think.
Right.
Okay, and then the next part here is talking about how do you drive off a screen into a zone?
Well, one of the things about zones is the fact that you're not always matched up closely with a man on you. Sometimes you're standing in the gap between them. And so when you're attacking a defense man-to-man, you've got to beat that person in front of you who's going to be trying to stop you. What is really works well if you're working against a zone is to get ball movement from side to side. And, that's called ball reversal usually, where the ball will take and begin on one side, it'll go to the point, it'll go to the offside, and even as deep as the baseline, then come back around. And what happens is that defensive players in zones are not noted for, what's the word?
Recovering.
Well, recovering or even being in the right place after the ball has made 4 or 5 different changes. And when the ball reverses back to the other side of the floor, oftentimes seams in the defense appear, and when they do, that is where you want to drive, is find a seam and attack it and get into the middle. And one of the things that happens in there is now somebody has to contest you or your shot or both. Usually it's the person in the middle. And what happens then, if you've got another player, let's say on the baseline, it'd be really easy to dump them the basketball. And so I would say that's things that you need to consider when you're going to attack a zone. Look to get through the seams, and don't. One of the things that happens too often too when you're playing on offense is this: teams and team players oftentimes shoot the ball too early in the clock. Not every place in the country uses the time clock on offense, but where it's used, one of the things that we really run by is that we don't want to take an early shot in the shot clock unless we know it's an absolute gimme. In other words, there's no question that we're going to make that basket. Otherwise, we want to take and massage the ball from side to side, getting that ball reversal to create some seams that we can attack and get into the middle of that defense.
Yep, and I would say that the biggest key when you're playing a zone is not to stand there, because that is really going to cause problems for you, because that's easy to guard.
Yep.
So when ball movement is definitely super important, but also like your movement when you don't have the ball. So you can do things like flatten out, you can do things like flare to the ball or flare to the middle. You're kind of just trying to poke holes in all the seams that those guys are leaving out there. And if you get the ball in your hands and you're trying to create an opportunity at that point, that's when you attack the seams, draw the defense in. That's going to pull them away from your teammates, and that's when you hit your teammate with the pass to either get a layup or a little shot or something like that. So when you're playing against a zone, it's really about attacking the seams or the holes and drawing the defense
and getting into the middle of it.
Yeah, and then when you're playing on man, it's a whole different scenario, and that's usually one of those things that it's not summed up in one sentence, really. Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, it isn't. And when you're working against a team that's playing you man, you have to consider the help defenders an awful lot too, because where are they, and are they going to step in and close down your driving lane, and if they do, what are you going to do? And so there's a lot of things to consider there that you develop just through experience of playing.
Yeah, it's not attacking areas so much as it is dealing with that actual guy. Okay, this one is from Mike Herman, who is at Michael J. Herman on Twitter. He says, I'm a big tech guy. We use 9450, and there is a new one that tracks makes, Hoop Tracker. Do you know of anything else? No, I mean, there's a few of those out there that people are using. We've seen the 9450 ball, and that seems pretty interesting, but we haven't really used much of that stuff. Right. So, I mean, if you guys have, let us know, and we'd like to hear about it. We like tech stuff too. Okay, this one is from Karazane in the chat, who says, I need to learn some dribbling techniques. My dribbling doesn't feel natural at all. I can't go between my legs for some reason. I've been practicing for a year and have still failed. Any help? I need to learn tricks because it's always been my dream to be somewhere else than on the bench.
Well, you don't look at it as learning tricks, and maybe that's not what you really mean. What you probably are really saying is that you need to learn some techniques that will allow you to be effective off the dribble, and that's all just about practice. And what I would tell you is, if you go to our videos and check out our ball handling on our channel, you'll find that there's some things there that will really help you. One of the things that I find too is that most young players don't spend very much time on working on ball skills. They're more entranced by shooting the basketball. And there's more to the game than just shooting the basketball. One of the things is that, and I use this analogy all the time, if you're on offense and you can shoot the basketball and you demonstrate that, the coach of the other team is not going to let you do that forever. As soon as he finds that you can shoot the ball pretty well, either before practice or before the game, or even during the game, and you hit 2 or 3 shots, the next time you come up there, there's going to be somebody right in your grill, and they're not going to let you have that shot. And so if you haven't worked at all on your ball skills where you can step and go by them and put pressure on them, then you're not going to be an effective player. You might as well just go sit down, because you're not going to be able to contribute.
I think one of the big things too is that people, when they're learning how to do these skills, sometimes they rush or they try to jump past like the kind of the process that you need to go through to really dial stuff in. So maybe you've been trying to do this between the legs thing. Maybe you're trying to do it at a level too high for you to be able to achieve it. So slow everything down, pull it way back, and just really, maybe it just takes one thing where you're just dropping the ball between your legs and working on it super slow. Work on pounding the ball, just getting the feel for the ball when you're actually just working on your dribbling abilities. And if you go look at our videos that we have for developing your weak hand, I think a lot of that information for that will help you even develop your strong hand, sure, because it tells you exactly what you need to do to put into it to get out the level of skill that you need, like how to get there. And then look at the drills that we have associated with that, and a lot of it is really just taking everything out of the equation and really just working on one aspect of it. So maybe you're working on just pounding the ball into the floor. Maybe that looks super easy, but I bet you can't do it for 30 or 40 pounds into the floor. But the people that are great dribblers can do that because they've worked on it and they've actually done that. The same thing is true of doing like a dynamic dribble drill. Like maybe you think you can do it, but can you do it consistently up and down the floor without messing up? I mean, that's really what you have to do, is par things way back, work on that stuff, and then you can get to the point where you're sprinting down the floor and you're able to do that stuff. So really pull everything back, slow it down, isolate the things that you need to work on, and that's where you're going to make the jump. You just need to, not try to force yourself. Work on it on a very kind of pared down level.
One of the things that if we knew exactly what kind of problems you were having with your scissor dribble or between the leg dribble, then we'd be able to help you more. One of the things that I find is a constant problem for younger players is they start the dribble through their legs too high. And what happens is that when we start the ball high on a dribble, and I'm talking one maybe that's chest high or even waist high, what happens is that the ball follows a V path. And I'm talking about this kind of V path. Okay, and what happens is that when we start it tall, the ball is going to take and have exact same pattern on the opposite side. And oftentimes on our scissor, we end up with the ball hitting us in the underside of the opposite leg. Whereas if you drop that dribble down and you're making that dribble through your legs more at knee height, then this is what the dribble angle looks like right here. Instead of the sharp one here, it looks like this, and what happens is that the ball gets through there very easily, and it's also more difficult for the defense to get their hands on.
Yeah, and we have video on that too, so check out like the scissor dribble and all of those weak hand development drills too. Okay, and then there was another question for Karazine who said, I know this may not sound that serious also, but how to get over being on the bench? I hate it. And what position should I be in with great defense and no dribbling? And thanks so much for answering. Okay, number one, forget about what position you should be in. Number one, we have no idea. Number two, you shouldn't worry about that. You should really work on being just a well-rounded player that can do anything. You should be able to post up, play the perimeter, shoot, attack, whatever, play defense, distribute the ball, all those things, because that makes you a valuable player, and you will find a position to play because the coach will say, that guy can play anything, you can go in there. So you want to be able to play all positions. And then the second part of this, being on the bench, that might be your role at this point, and you just have to really put in the work to get off the bench. You shouldn't hate it. I mean, you're on the team. That's great. So what you need to do is really keep working on all the little things in conjunction with developing your general skills. So we have a video called How to Make the Team or something like that, or Make the Team. Yeah. And we talk about all the things that coaches look for in players. And there's actually a playlist because we talked to some pro coaches about that as well. So check that out. But it's mostly about showing initiative, showing effort, showing leadership skills, doing all the little things, making the coach's job easier. That will really help you find a way to kind of get more playing time if you put into work into that area as well.
Another thing that you can do, and I think this is a great idea, is talk to the coach.
Yeah.
And through my many years of coaching, I've found that players, for the most part, are sometimes reluctant to talk to the coach, especially about playing time. And I wouldn't approach it that way. What I would do is maybe find time to chat with the coach and ask him, Coach, I'd like to play more. What do you think are two of the things that I need to work on that would give me a better chance to play? And when you do that, they may say, okay, Bill, here is what you need to work on. You need to work on A, B, and C. And as you get better with that, then probably I can find time to play you, because there may be something in your game that is not allowing you to get out there and play maybe at the same tempo, be able to take care of the basketball, be able to defend, that you may not be really aware of, that the coach hasn't had time or the initiative to step up and tell you this is why you're not playing more. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think I would approach him and tell him, how come I don't get to play more? What I would do is take a softer approach and, Coach, what are a couple things you think that I could do so that I get a chance to play a little bit more? Okay?
Yeah, and
don't be afraid to talk to the coach. Especially if you don't challenge them. I think that when we do, we go to a coach and we challenge them on, how come I don't get to play more, or that kind of attitude, they do not respond well to that. And so what is really a much better idea is to take a softer approach. Can you tell me 2 or 3 things that I need to work on so I can have a chance to possibly play some more? And that softer approach is not going to tick them off, and they're probably more than happy to help you with those items too.
Yeah, I mean, I would even be less general about it. I would just say, I would really love to play more and get more playing time. I mean, is there anything that I can do to work towards that?
Sure. And I can remember when I was a young player, I really wasn't very good. And I had a coach. I never really posed that question to him, but, he took time when he didn't need to coach me after practice. And I would go after practice for another half an hour or so, and we'd work on all kinds of different drills to improve my ability to play. And over a period of time, I did get to play more. And then after a while, I got to start, okay? And I found that kind of typical throughout my high school years, is that coaches will take time with you if you just ask them.
Yep. Okay, so if you guys have questions, please send them to us right now. We need as many questions as possible. But we will shout you out on the air if we use your questions. So let us know what you want to know about basketball from us. Let's see. This one is from Locker47, who says, "Hi, I'm trying to change my game from a shooting guard to a back-to-the-basket forward. Any tips on how I can attack a post defender based on the position of their legs? I imagine it's quite different when attacking from triple threat and when backing someone down. I've incorporated the post moves from your videos in my arsenal, and so far they're really effective. Thanks."
Well, one of the things that I would respond to that on is that you probably only need 2 or 3 moves that are go-to moves from you. And typically, if you're a post player, you're going to take and play have to be able to execute those on either side of the basket and possibly in front of the basket. And so just take those 2 or 3 moves and let those be your signature moves, and just work and work and work until you can be effective. Playing with your back to the basket is a whole different game than facing the basket. Facing the basket, you are taking and maybe using triple threat or something like that to attack the rack. Whereas when you've got your back to it, where the key point to it too is which move to use depending on where that defender is. Sometimes you get the ball just above the block and they're playing high side on you. That calls for an absolute drop step right now. And so you have to understand that. If they're playing directly behind you, we like to coach a couple of different things. The little jump hook over the middle, or to spin move to the baseline. You can also spin over the top as well and be very effective with that. But you don't need 12 moves.
Yeah,
2 or 3 and you're good.
and doing things too, like a look fake. You look that way, just glance that way, and then you go that way. I mean, that really is effective too. Or even a shoulder fake and then go. Those are great ways to get them off balance. But I would also say don't completely overhaul your game.
No,
I mean,
no,
that
no.
is the worst thing that you can do. You want to be able to use the skills that you use as a shooting guard in that new position as well. A lot of guys think that they have to have a certain specific set of skills for each position, and then they have to forget about all the other stuff. Like if you're a post player, you need to forget about how to do anything on the perimeter. That is not true. You want to be the most well-rounded player you can, because you will still find yourself in positions or certain opportunities where you can use different skills in different settings. And if you are able to use skills you developed playing maybe some other position in your new position, that will only help you be a better player. So please do that. Okay. Um, let's see. Yeah, and check out our post moves too. We got a lot of those. This one is from. Let's go to Twitter actually. This one is from Nathan Thompson, who was at NateT_AF. He says, "Is it okay if I don't have a schedule? I don't get off at a certain time with my summer job, but I train at least 4 times a week." I think that the most important thing is to be as consistent as you possibly can. If that's all the opportunities and times that you have, I mean, that's all that you can do. One thing that we don't really think is the best way to approach training is to put everything all in on one day, like let's say Sunday, and that's when you do all your stuff. And you do it for 5 hours. I think then if you come back and you're trying to have your game there on Friday or Saturday or whatever, it just will not be there, and you probably will not make very much progress every Sunday either. So if you're able to spread it out over different, multiple days during the week, get a little bit in each day, I think that's the best way that you can do it. And also be creative about it too. Like maybe you have a break at work, you can work on 10 minutes of ball handling or something like that. I don't know. But just kind of work to find time to make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Farasat at Cashdown23 on Twitter. He says, "When you're working out for basketball, is it better to do full body workouts or split workouts?" So I guess that means, are you working out like training? I guess I would say it depends a little bit on your age, but I would say that if you're a younger player, that you should really work mostly on functional training and interval and conditioning and interval training and stuff like that. So functional training would be stuff like push-ups, pull-ups, just body weight squats, plyometric stuff without weights. All of that stuff is much better for you than going in and trying to do tons of lifts and stuff like that. And that's coming from someone that does a lot of that stuff. But I think that people put too much into thinking that if they go in and they're doing a bunch of weight training, that's going to make their game go to the next level, which is so not true. I would tell you to actually spend more time working on your game than actually working on developing musculature. You look at guys like Kevin Durant or I mean, there's a ton of them, but like Kevin Durant would be a good person to look at. I mean, he's a dominant player, and he's not benching 300 pounds. So I would say spend more of your time working on developing your game, your ball skills and your game skills, and then spend a little bit of time working on functional training and conditioning and all that stuff, and don't even really worry about weight training.
Yeah, especially until you get older.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys and girls too, in your early development, let's say you're 13, 14 years old, your growth plates haven't really closed up yet, and you can actually do some damage to those.
Well, I mean,
growth
that's mostly
if you're weight training.
That's mostly if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, even with weight training though.
No, yeah, but I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, and if you've never trained with weights, or you've never had like an actual person that knows what they're doing helping you, you should not even attempt it. That's a great way to get hurt. And like I said before, the major take home is that it will not take you to the next level. No. It will barely help you. That's really the bottom line. It will barely help you. The real key to getting your abilities to the next level is working on your actual basketball skills.
Yep. Very true.
Too much emphasis is put on that weight training stuff. This one is from John Smith, who says, "When shooting at a 9-foot basket, I am lights out, but on 10 foot, I am horrible." Well, spend more time on shooting on 10 foot. Really the key to getting accuracy going is just getting the repetition in.
Well, I don't know where you're shooting on the 9 foot baskets, but the thing that's really important is this. When you play a game, probably middle school, high school, college, those rims are going to be at 10 feet. Don't waste your time on those 9 foot baskets, no matter how good you are at them. You take and spend your time working on the 10 foot basket so that you can be lights out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a young kid, like if you're 7, 8, 9 years old, you are fine to work on using equipment that is appropriate for your size. So something like an 8 foot rim or a 9 foot rim depends on what your abilities are. A smaller ball that is great for those people because it helps you develop the correct mechanics for your body size. And as you get older, you're able to graduate up to closer to regulation size. If you're playing in middle school and high school and you're using the 9 foot rim and the small ball, I mean that's really going to screw you up when you actually have to step out and play a real game.
Right.
You should be playing on what you are going to see when you actually have a game. So that's the bottom line. This one is from CJ Bagsick in the chat, who says, I just got back from an injury. I had a concussion. Luckily, no serious damage or anything. I just seem to be scared to play ball nowadays. Well, I mean, that's just one of those things. You got to kind of work back and start to, change your mentality and your mindset. I mean, anybody can get hurt at any time, and that includes somebody that has been hurt. And it's just a mental block that you got to get past, right?
Yeah, it is. And, it's not likely that you're going to have some serious injury time after time after time. So let it go, get back, and play on.
Yep. Okay, let's see. How to reload. This one is from Ben Clawblast 50, who says, I haven't been able to play basketball for about a week now, and I know it doesn't seem like a long time, but yesterday I was shooting around after a week, and I couldn't make them as much as I used to. I had pretty much mastered my three-point range and was working on my mid-range game before the week I didn't play, and my handles were also doing nice and was overall doing great. Now it seems I can't barely make a solid shot.
We have those situations where we stay away from it for a few days or even a week or so. And what you have to do then is just get back in the grind, get back in the routine, and you'll find that shot and the ball handling will tend to come back around. You may have a day, maybe 2 or 3 days, where you're kind of rough and things aren't working out very well. One of the things I would suggest is go to our form shooting drill and spend time on that, maybe 10 or 15 minutes every day, and you'll find that all of those things will start to come back really quick.
It's all about consistency. And if you lay off for a few days, I mean, that's going to be a problem. But if you spend, if you get back into it right away, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah.
So yes, you can expect to fall off if you stay away from a week,
Yeah.
2 week, a month, whatever. You're going to have a regression. But if you go back and you start working on things again, it will quickly come back.
It does. Yeah.
Stay consistent, and you won't have to worry about it. Okay. So this is from Brad Babjack, who says, so I'm currently a post player, but I've stopped growing, and others still are growing, I guess. So I'm trying to transition more to a wing player. Any tips? Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this already. Don't forget about your post play and those skills, and just open up your game more and start working on all the other different aspects of basketball and working on your perimeter play. So go check out our offensive playlist stuff. You can work on your jab step, your the diamond, the shot fake, all of the different dribble attack moves. Just get comfortable with doing those things, and still just hold on to your post abilities as well, because that will only make you better. There really are no tips. We tell people to be well-rounded players. Just be good at everything. I mean, that's really the key. Then you can play anywhere at any time.
Exactly. If you spend your whole time developing yourself as a post player, and yet, like you're saying here, is that now you're not that big anymore, and so it becomes more difficult. If you are a well-rounded player, then you should be able to play any place on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, look at somebody like Steve Nash. He occasionally posts people up.
Mm-hmm.
He's a perimeter player, but he has those skills developed. Look at the flip of that. That's like Anthony Davis. He grew up playing the point guard, and then he had a huge growth spurt, and now he's a giant man. and he's able to play both inside and along the perimeter, and he has equal abilities on both. So you should really work towards that. People need to get out of the mindset of playing positions.
Yeah.
That is really the worst thing you can do to yourself, is saying, I'm a point guard and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's the only skills I'm going to work on. Work on being a basketball player.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, this one is from, lightning round number 1. We are running out of time, so we got to hurry up and get through as many of these as we can. So short answers to all these. This is from Naman Basin, who says, I'm going into 7th grade and I'm trying out for the basketball team. Do you have any tips or advice that could help me make the team? Yes.
Okay, go to our videos and check out how to make the team.
Yeah.
And it gives you some guidelines in there of things that are important that coaches look for.
Yeah, and it's mostly about appealing to the coach in doing the small things, really. But check out that video.
Tremendous effort is a key.
Yep. Okay. Neil 005 says, will you see this? Yes, we saw it.
Yep.
Nailed it. This one is from Lisa Mellers, who says, I want to learn to shoot better.
Okay.
Lisa, go check out our videos. We have a ton of them on our channel that tell you, kind of our thoughts and philosophy on shooting. And, we're going to have more in the future too, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned. But, there's a ton of stuff on there that will really help you kind of get your shot going, and also give you some tools or drills that you can use to apply those things. Okay, this one is from Rebecca Wolf, who says, I never know what to do when I get past the ball. I forget everything.
All right, before you say anything, I think it is so cool when we hear from the young ladies too. Here's Lisa and Rebecca both offering questions. That is awesome. We'd love to hear from more women and girls players. That's great.
Okay, do you have an answer for Rebecca?
Okay, yeah. One of the things that usually happens there is you're scared. You have no confidence in yourself as a player. And what you need to do is spend some time working on all those skills. We talked about these things earlier today. And when you develop those skills through the 3 pillars that we discussed, you'll find that you're not afraid anymore. And it's just fear. That's all it is, a lack of confidence.
Yeah, you got to have experience using your skills to be able to execute those skills. Yeah. So get out there, do the diligent training, do the game speed, game intensity, which I think will be really key for you, it sounds like, and then actually get the play out on the court and apply those things. Okay, this one is from Drake Ovo, who says, how do I get called less for a carry? I don't think I am doing it. Probably, I can guess.
I can guess too, yeah.
Here's the thing with the basketball.
Show this with this as being the horizontal line right there.
Okay, so here's the horizontal line. Here's the upper hemisphere and the lower hemisphere down here. If your hand goes down and it starts to get into this lower hemisphere, you will probably get called for carrying the ball. If you keep your hand up here on this part of the ball, I mean, you can even be a little bit down into the lower hemisphere, but if you start to get more and more of your hand underneath, you're going to get called for a carry. It almost doesn't matter what you're doing with the ball. It looks like you're manipulating it more than you should be. So you need to keep your hand up here on the top part of the ball.
Well, the other thing is that players oftentimes, without even thinking about it, allow that hand to come down. And when you take and dribble the ball, you tend to roll your hand and roll the dribble. That is a very slow and usually typically sloppy dribble, easy for people to knock away too. Keep your ball on the top, or your hand on the top half of that ball, and pound it.
But I mean, if you're getting called for it, you can send us a video and we can check it out too, and we can tell you. Okay. Lightning round, remember. This is from ATD27, who says, when I'm shooting anything shorter than, we already answered that one. This one is from Hayden Bren, who says, when I start off shooting, I find I make a lot of shots, but when I start to get tired, I find that I start to get tense when I shoot an air ball. It also gets a lot less accurate. Is there any way to fix this? Yes. Okay, well, I guess you're making me do it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the thing is that you probably are not working on your shot during different periods of your conditioning. So what happens when you just are able to shoot in the beginning of when you're playing is that you probably practice that way, where you are practicing at a level of fatigue where things are probably all going pretty well for you. You're not tired. All your muscles feel good. You're not breathing hard, all that stuff, and you're able to perform at that. What happens is that if you don't work on conditioning yourself through doing these interval training steps. Then what happens is that when you step out on the court, you are not prepared to try to make those shots then. So what you have to do is push your conditioning and work on your basketball skills in those different periods of your conditioning. So you should work on them when you're fresh, and then you should go out and work on them when you're kind of gassed and you've done a few drills. Then you should really push yourself so that you're feeling like you're in the fourth quarter, or you're in deep in overtime, and you are just gassed completely and you're still able to work on your skills. Then when you step out on the court, that stuff will be there for you even though you're tired.
Exactly. And you have to be able to shoot during that period and maybe the fourth quarter where you're gassed. You got to be able to do that.
Yeah, and a lot of times excuse me, a lot of times we see it with free throws. A lot of people come in and they shoot free throws at the beginning of their practice. They're super fresh, and I'm making 80 and 90% on the free throws. Then you see them and they miss every one of them in the fourth quarter, and that's because they haven't practiced them at that level of fatigue. You have to really get out there and be prepared at any different period of your conditioning. Okay, let's see. This one is from Mr. Unbeaten Spade, who says, I'm a senior in high school and I plan on trying out for the team this year. I haven't played for my school ever, but I have played fairly well in outside games. Here's the thing. My coach at my school plays strong favoritism. That's part of the reason I never made it. I really want to play college ball. Any advice? Number one, stop worrying about all that political junk.
Yes.
You can only do what you can do. So get out there, check out our video on Make the Team, and do all those things that we talk about in there. If you worry about what the coach is thinking or his favoritism and all that, then that's really just going to play against you. If he really does do that, then there's not much you can do about it other than really put yourself out there and make yourself undeniable.
Well, when it comes down to the coach selecting people for the team, it's not a matter of favoritism. What it is a matter of who can play and who will fit into his scheme for his team. And so favoritism probably plays a way smaller part than you ever would imagine. Has to do with, can this guy play? Okay, and is he a really good rebounder? Is he really good on defense? Can he shoot and do all those other things? That's what you ought to be thinking about. And the other thing that's really important too is go to the coach before any of this and say, Coach, you've seen me play. What do you think about my game? What do you think that I need to do to be able to make your team? And he'll probably give you some things to work on that would probably be helpful for you. Don't be afraid to talk to him.
Yeah, but if you come in entitled and thinking that you are on the team or that the coach is playing some game, that's, even if he is, why put that into your mind?
Right.
And why let that affect what you're going to do?
Absolutely.
If you should be on the team, you should be on the team. So make it undeniable. Go out there and play really hard and do all you can do. We got 2 questions left, and we're going to do them real quick. Or we have 2 questions that we're going to hit. Okay, this one is from Merone Alpha, who says, I'm just starting basketball and I wanted to know, what should I work on first, ball handling or shooting?
Okay.
Both.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. Work on both of them because they're both the keys to playing.
You got to work on everything all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the last one we're going to answer today. This one is from Jenon Jojo, who says, Coach, I'm 23. How do I take my shooting to the next level? Is it just a matter of repetition, or is there something else I need to do?
Okay, one thing you need to do is make sure that your shooting mechanics are spot on. I have a recent student who is 27 years old, and he has come back after about a 10-year absence, and he wants to fix his shot so he can go and possibly play in the European leagues. So that's our goal. And that's how you go about this. You improve it by, first of all, fix it, and then once you've fixed it, then you take and work so hard on just dialing that in so that you're going to be a killer shooter.
Yeah, 3 pillars of practice. Diligent time spent working on it, very slowed down, and each of the little elements of your mechanics. Form shooting drill is a great one. Then, second pillar, game speed, game intensity. That is really where you will make the major jump. Put yourself in game situations. Have somebody play defense. Put yourself into catching off the ball or catching out the pass and catching off the dribble or shooting off the dribble. All of those things will really make you to the next level. And then the third is getting the game experience. So get out there and play, playground ball, traveling team, whatever, and get the experience there. Okay. So that's it for today, guys. If we missed your question, and I know there's some over there, we really apologize. It's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just didn't have enough time. Make sure you're back here next week, Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, for another live show. Please go out there and tell your friends and family to show up for the shows, because that really helps us get more cool guests on. And I guess we will see you on the next one. And if you have questions, leave them for us during the week on all of our stuff. We're Shot Science on everything.
All right.
All right,
guys.
guys.
Thanks.
See you later.